Hello everyone, thank you for coming. So just firstly, a little bit about me. So I'm a dispensing optician and I started my business Clarity in 2015. So I sort of specialise in visual stress. The reason why I got into it was because I worked in an optician's that bought a practice that did colorimetry, and they wanted somebody to train to do that, to carry that on, and I volunteered because I like to learn new things. And I didn't really get a lot of time to do the colorimetry side of it, so I decided to start my own business because I got amazing results with people that found that the colours help them. So I lived in Heatherset and, like I say, started in 2015. Recently, I have moved to Attleborough and I've bought this premises, which I'm really excited to now be on the high street. I'm renovating at the minute. It's been quite a lot. It used to be a solicitor's building, and then it was a tax office, tax assist business. And so I was looking to rent somewhere when I sold my house in Heatherset. That was far too expensive to rent, so I asked if they'd sell it basically, and they sold it. And so now I'm going to have the part of it, and then upstairs I've got a nice big room which I'm going to hopefully do training. So I'm going to hopefully develop like training courses and stuff so that I can get people in to come and I can show them how to do like overlays and things like that. So neurodivergence and visual stress. Is there a link between neurodivergence and visual stress? So when I've done this sort of presentation before, I've gone into schools and I've talked more about visual stress and dyslexia, because a lot of people do get dyslexia and visual stress mixed up. I've tried this time to open that up a little bit more. Obviously, there's lots of neurodivergence conditions. That on the screen is the Royal College of Nursing's take on it. And obviously, neurodivergence is the term when someone's brain processes, learns, or behaves differently to what is considered typical, if there is a typical. And you can see from the notes there that neurodivergent conditions include like dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, ADHD, SC, and these conditions are often co-occur, and a lot of the symptoms overlap. So what is visual stress? So visual stress, as you can see from there, it can be printed text, perceptual distortions. It can be things like the lady wearing the stripy top. A lot of people can find that stripes and the sort of graded patterns and things like that are very difficult to look at for any length of time. It's also known as Erlin syndrome. A lot of people know it as me as Erlin. It's all the same thing. Visual stress is essentially the condition, and then there's sort of other names for it. Visual stress is not an optical problem, but a perceptual processing issue. So the brain's ability to process visual information. And because visual stress is perceptual, it's not corrected by prescription glasses. And it's not picked up on a normal sight test, and nor is it detected in like educational or medical tests. So symptoms include things like are on the screen. People say there's like glare, they see glare on the page, they can't look at white pages for very long. A lot of people will get like red or sore or watery eyes. That picture there is just one example of kind of what people explain to me. So they'll say that they can read, they'll read what they are reading is clear, but everything else around it is blurry or distorted and things like that. So that's just like one of the things. They can tire quickly, they'll be slow at reading, hesitant, inefficient reading, that sort of thing. Skip words and lines are very, very common things that I hear. Losing their place when they're reading, poor concentration, all that sort of thing. And those are some examples of visual stress that people sort of tell me. So they'll have like halos around the text, patterns where some words or parts of words will be more bold, and sometimes there'll be like blurry areas, text moves, and that sort of thing. But they're all like non-specific symptoms, so it could always be something else. So a lot of the time, like children will say that they can't see the whiteboard, and obviously get your eyes tested would be the first step. And also, like I say, because it's not picked up in an eye test, a lot of children do get missed with that, and they can't explain themselves very well as to what they're seeing. And again, some of the symptoms could be other neurodivergent conditions. So people with visual stress, they're some of the things that they may experience. So difficulty looking at the computer screen, usually because it's white. I find that it's the lighting, so like really bright fluorescent light, the bright white computer screens and things like that, people are really bothered by. And it's often experienced by people with dyslexia, but it is now, visual stress is now recognised as a condition separate on its own, although I do still get a lot of people wanting a dyslexia test because they found overlays help or whatever. But yeah, obviously there is a distinct difference between visual stress and dyslexia. And Professor Arnold Wilkins, who from the University of Essex, who developed the colorimeter, which I will come on to, he describes visual stress as a hyperexcitability of the visual cortex. So he does a lot of research on like clinical vision, migraines, reading difficulties, text, design and lighting. And so basically hyperexcitability of the visual cortex, meaning that the signals going back to the brain are working overtime, and obviously the colour then kind of calms those signals down. So visual stress is not the same as dyslexia. Like I said, I often get lots of people confuse it. Obviously dyslexia is the most common of the specific learning difficulties, and usually involves like spelling as well as reading as being their main issues. I see, like I say, I've seen a lot of patients who've sort of wanted to have a dyslexia assessment, I went somewhere a few years ago, and I had loads of people come and say, "Oh, I have them," to the overlays, and I said, "Do they help?" And they're like, "No, they don't help." And then I worked out that they actually have dyslexia, but they've been given them because the college thought that that was the same condition. So, and then I've had other people who are like, "Oh yeah, they really work." But yeah, if you give a dyslexic person overlays, if they haven't got visual stress, they're not going to help. It's not going to help them. So most common in visual stress and dyslexia, again, there's another couple of examples there of sort of visual stress sort of symptoms, like the words sort of almost look like they're moving and a bit sort of blurry. So you can read those. So visual distortions is the sort of main thing. And experience reversal of letters. So obviously, again, that can be visual stress and dyslexia, and reading words are upside down things. So visual stress and autism. So there's some quotes from a few research papers from academics who have studied the links between visual stress and children with autism. Quite interesting to see that children with ASD are 4 times more likely to read more quickly with an individually chosen coloured overlay than age and intelligent matched peers. So yeah, again, there's lots of sort of things that are in lots of different conditions. So if you suspect that yourself or your child or something has visual stress, first thing, most important, is to get a full eye examination in an optician's. That will obviously rule out any sort of prescription errors, things like that. Refractive errors obviously are common and can affect the ability to resolve detail, and therefore can contribute to reading difficulties. So that's really important to do that first. And then you'd go on to an overlay assessment, which I'll explain on the next slide. And then if the overlay is helpful, you can have the full colorimetry assessment. So the overlay assessment, there's several manufacturers that do the overlays. There always used to be 10 colours, but now I use Crossbow and they've now introduced another 6 colours. So there's actually 16 colours. I used to find that with the 10 colours, I would combine 2 colours that are next to each other to get like a darker colour or something like that. But now, since I've been using the 16 colours, that's not necessary. There's some sort of darker colours and some slightly different colours in that selection, which is really good, but most of them are 10 colours. I would do a rate of reading test, which is words that don't make sense, and I'd get the child or the adult to do that from white paper, and just assess like how quickly they read, how accurate they are, and that sort of thing. And then I'd show them the overlays in a sort of order, and then hopefully if they found that a colour helped, then I'd get them to do the reading again with the overlay over the top, and then just kind of see what the improvement was. So it can be carried out, an overlay assessment I'd say could be carried out by a teacher or a TA in a school. It's quite a simple procedure, just a process of elimination with the colours. Takes about 30 minutes or so to do, not even that sometimes, depending. Downside of doing an overlay assessment on a child, they may pick their favourite colour, or they might pick the colour that their friend has got or something like that. But actually, if there's an improvement in their reading and they're more confident, doesn't matter. If it gives them more confidence and they're reading better, it doesn't matter. They will soon not use it if it doesn't work any longer. And the colours obviously can change, so sometimes I'll see a child like every year and they'll have a different colour every year, but that's absolutely fine. But if they have picked a colour that is not the best colour for them, it's not going to hurt their eyes if they use it. So it doesn't really matter too much as long as they're using it. So next one is the colorimetry. So that's a picture of my colorimeter, but I have got a newer one now. So the colorimeter, where the overlays, there's 16 colours. The colorimetry assessment takes in consideration about 7,000 colours. So it's like a prescription colour. It was designed by Professor Arnold Wilkins, and you look into this little box and it illuminates the page of text with coloured light. And it can be varied by 3 controls: hue, saturation and brightness. So the hue and the saturation can be changed individually, so they're continuous, and any hue or saturation can be obtained within the visual spectrum. So like I say, there's about 7,000 colours, and I always describe that as like a prescription colour. So the overlays are more like, I don't know, if you went to the chemist and got a pair of reading glasses for reading, they're okay, but they're not exact. And then if you went to the opticians, had your proper prescription made up, they're like your prescription. Bit like that, I'd say, with the coloured overlays and the glasses. The colour that comes out of there, you'd obviously wear as glasses. So once the colorimeter has obtained the optimum colour to reduce the perceptual distortions, the colour is then precisely matched using trial lenses. So I'll find the colour from the machine. It's got some coordinates on it. I'll then put that into the spreadsheet, and then it will come up with the exact colour. And then I physically get the lenses, combine them together, and then ask the patient to try them. But obviously sometimes there's about 4 lenses, but when they're tinted, they are just 1 lens. But I can't obviously have 14,000 lenses in a case, so they are sort of made up. But there'll only ever be 2 colours that are next to each other on the colour wheel, so that when the colorimeter goes round in a order, so it goes all the way around the colour wheel. And then once that's done, the spectacle lenses are, so I send the order off, and then the spectacle lenses are dyed to the appropriate shade and then ratified by a spectroradiometer and computer. So A spectroradiometer is a light measurement tool that is able to measure both the wavelength and the amplitude of light. So if you ordered a tint, like a pinky tint, say for example, from an optician's, that would just be tinted. And if you ordered that 10 times, you'd get 10 different colours. But with these precision lenses, you get the same colour every time. And yeah, assessment is approximately 30 minutes long, although it takes me longer than that because I ask loads of questions first to the patient to get a good background. I think I've described that already. Tint is produced. Any prescription can be incorporated. So if you already wear a prescription, you can have the glasses, the tint can be put onto your, or the prescription can be incorporated into the tint. So apart from it can't be done on thinner lenses. You only have to have standard lenses, which I suppose is the only problem if you've got quite a thick or high prescription. So reassessment. So the symptoms may return after a period of time, even with continued use of the glasses. And I usually recommend that a test is carried out maybe once a year. So I'd ask the patient to have a sight test and then do the colorimetry again and just check whether the colour has changed or not. The change in the tint can be substantial or it can be relatively slight. I saw a lady this week and she's had her glasses since 2018 and she said, oh, they're not working anymore. They don't seem to be working as well as they did. And I tested her again and she actually got the exact same colour but slightly lighter. So, and when she put those on, she was like, oh, that's much better. I was like, it's actually the exact same hue and not saturation, but the hue is exactly the same, but it was just lighter. So she'd actually found that the colour that she had is now too dark, basically. But it's surprising how something so minute in change can make such a big difference. And she was like, it's just like they're brand new again. You know, the colour is just so much better. And sometimes when if I test a patient and if I don't think that the colour, because it's obviously subjective, so if I don't think they've given me the right answer, if I don't think that they've got the right colour, I will retest them like a week or two later. And sometimes it's amazing how the colour looks the same when they come back and they're like, oh, that's the same. And then when they look at it, put it, and they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I'm so glad you got me to come back, you know, because, you know, the percentage increase might have been, let's say 15% the first time round, and then it's 45 or something the second time round, yet the colour looks near enough the same. But it's, because it's so precise and it's like, you know, a prescription in your eyes, you can have a 025 or an 050 change and then find that actually it makes a huge amount of difference. So there was a couple of trials, 2 open trials carried out by Professor Wilkins and Bruce Evans, who's an optometrist. And in the trials, about 80% of the patients were still wearing their tints when followed up 1 year later after the first provision of the lenses. And in a clinical audit that they also carried out, over 70% of people prescribed with the precision tints were still using them over a year later. And the study sort of suggested that the overall trend towards lighter tints could, like as time goes on, could be due to the reducing hyperexcitability of the visual cortex as we get older. So again, with this lady, she was in her 40s, and yeah, she'd wanted it lighter. So yeah. So what results can be expected? So those are both patients of mine who had the glasses. It will differ from patient to patient. Some may experience, you know, like massive improvements. I've had patients who have said that it's life-changing. Most of them say that they've just found that they can read for longer. It's so more comfortable. What they're reading, they actually remember what they've read rather than, you know, like just managing. And children will have certainly get sort of like 1 to 2 years improvements in their age, reading age and things like that. So I did have one patient who I think had a 300% increase in their reading speed by using the glasses. So and the accuracy is often a lot better, and fluency is another thing. There's some testimonials, just different things where, again, my patients who've said that they've found that the glasses are amazing. I see a lot of people who have headaches as well. So Professor Arnold Wilkins, he does a lot of, in the last sort of 10 years, has done a lot of research into headaches, migraines and that sort of thing. And I do see patients who just come to me because they've done everything. They've been under the hospital for migraines for years and things like that. And then they've said that they just don't get the headaches anymore, which is really good. That's how you contact me. Like I say, I'm now based in Attleborough. Got my Facebook page, website, email. I'm always happy to answer questions on the email. Are there any questions? Yes.
I'm guessing this isn't available on the NHS.
Unfortunately not, no.
Okay, so roughly how much would an assessment be?
So an overlay assessment, I charge £35, and that includes an overlay to take away. And so how an overlay assessment, I allow about an hour in total. So I'd obviously the patient would come in, I'd ask them loads of questions about kind of what they struggle with, that sort of thing. Then I'd do a rate of reading with them, so telling them, so obviously assessing how they read normally, then do the overlays. Obviously it's subjective, so I'm going on the results they give me, finding which one is best. If they've two, then I'll get them to read with both of them. If there's just one, obviously I'll get them to read. If they have anything over like a 10% increase in their reading speed, that's pretty good. And then I'll give them the overlay to try. They can try it for as long as, that's obviously theirs. They can try it for as long as they like. Some people find that, depending on the age of the person, some, like an adult, might want to just have the glasses after a short time because the overlay is a little bit, you have to keep taking it out and stuff like that. And a child like who's doing a lot of, say like GCSE kind of level, they might find that the glasses are better. Younger children probably stick with the overlays for longer. And so that would include, so the £35 includes obviously the overlay, and then I'll write a letter to, for them to take away or email it to them saying what I found and what I recommend. So recommend, like if they can write on a particular colour paper, if the school can change any interactive whiteboards and things like that. And then the colorimetry assessment is £45. Same sort of thing involves, but the actual glasses, the tint is 160 because that's the expensive bit. If they have prescription lenses, single vision, they start from 65. If they're varifocals, they're around about 150 for the lenses. If they don't have a prescription, just the colour, the lenses are 40 because they have to be tinted onto like ophthalmic quality. So you can't get away with just tinting the dummy lenses or anything like that come in the frames. And then my frames start from 25. So 225 is like the minimum if you had, yeah. And unfortunately, it's not covered by the NHS, which is a real pain. It used to be covered, DSA used to cover it when you go to university.
And you would sort of access to work, like useful adjustments, things like that?
Yeah, I do see people through access to work. Yeah.
I've got diagnosed 6 weeks ago with ADHD, so this is very interesting for me. And also thinking about my son, that his school has said his reading's behind. So
right, okay.
Yeah, lots going on right now.
Yeah. No, it used to be, they used to be funded by when you go to university, but I mean, obviously it's not funded before then. So there are a couple of charities in Norwich that will fund the glasses. The Anguish Foundation is one of them, and the Joanna Scott Foundation. So they They have like certain criteria, but their charities, they'll fund the glasses. I do see people through that as well, which is quite handy. Yeah, that's all right. Anyone else? No? Well, thank you all for listening.